I can turn off the nuclear launches from being detected. That would be like
nuclear launch detected.
That was always such a like awesome moment to hear if you were the nuker instead of the
otherwise
exactly.
You're like, oh, there goes the entire match.
Didn't that happen in Hawaii? Like, what was it, last year or 2 years ago?
Oh God!
They accidentally set off the alarm, and everybody thought they had like 15 minutes left to live.
Yeah,
it didn't lead to any suicides or anything, did it? Because that's what you risk. Is like someone being
true.
like, "Fuck this."
Yeah, I'll take my own life rather than getting
Yeah, that's why it's like scary when that kind of stuff is accidentally done, because it could result in the worst.
Well, I was just talking about playing, Starcraft.
Yeah, I know you were.
Because
your phone is going to get people to kill themselves.
Oh, yeah, exactly.
If they're too old to get the reference, or too young to get the reference to StarCraft.
I always liked having at least like 5 or 6 nukes built up if I could. So you send enough ghosts in, and you just like laze the entire area, and your computer goes nuclear launch detected. Sounds like me. Oh man! And then watching the detectors like a science vessel or a
never have enough
observer
detectors unless you're Zerg.
Yeah,
they get free detectors. The detectors die so easily when you're Zerg.
The overlords. Yeah.
I'm trying to remember their names because I played StarCraft 2 for a while, so some of them like overlords are no longer observers. You have to evolve them a level or something.
No, observer was Protoss. You StarCraft or Command and Conquer, Mike, or Warcraft?
Oh, so Warcraft 2 was the first one I really started getting to. Then I jumped over to StarCraft. Yeah. And so StarCraft was the one I played the most. Never got into Command and Conquer. Just never had an opportunity, to get the game and upload it to my PC or anything.
Age of Empires, or Civ.
I just started Civ 6 for the first time last year, and I played over 10,000 hours of it.
Oh wow!
According to my Switch, because I play it every night for 3 to 4 hours.
Wow, that's
start
dedication.
New accounts. I just like to experiment with it.
I know they're both.
And then I watch TV at the same time and drink some beer, and sometimes smoke something. But it's like I'm quadruple, like not double tasking, quadruple tasking, just so I can cope with reality. Man, that's dark.
That's a lot.
Just kidding. I mean, it's true, but I'm joking.
Yeah.
Right. I got
kidding, but seriously.
All seriousness, but all joking.
Anyways, good morning, everyone. Well, welcome to LRMornings today with Kyle and Nick and Shockey. What's up, guys? How's it going?
Good. How about you?
Hanging out, thinking that we're close to being done talking about something.
Nope.
No.
When all of a sudden,
the podcast.
all of a sudden, I find out about a hashtag yesterday. Hashtag Restore the Snyderverse. Oh my god!
I have a question right off the bat, Kyle.
What?
Okay, so Iris West was confirmed to be what's the actress who plays her in Justice League? I usually remember my actress's name. What?
Kiersey Clemens?
Yes. She is going to be in The Flash.
Mm-hmm.
So does that keeping the Snyderverse, the more actors you keep, since she's only in Snyder's Justice League cut? Or is it just giving her the chance that she deserved originally?
I would guess the latter. I would believe that it was always the intention for her to be a part of that Flash movie. So the confirmation isn't necessarily
I was not surprised by it.
Yeah,
either. But I was like, I wonder if that leads credence to them like keeping Snyderverse, because obviously it wasn't cast by the Flash director director who's only been on it for a few months. It was a Snyder casting of Idris, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
Iris.
Iris West.
Yep.
Idris? Yeah. Okay.
You just
Close enough.
combined Iris and Idris.
Idris.
West and Idris Elba together. Way to go.
To be fair, they're both awesome.
True. Yep.
I don't know Kirstie Clint. I know
seen her in something and she was really good. It may have been a Netflix TV show actually.
okay. I know the actress that plays Iris on CW does a good job. So, but it's all a multiverse, right? So do we really is the Snyderverse not existent?
I think that's what the upcoming Flash movie might be. Be settling.
Rewriting of
kind of rewriting of what the true DC universe might be.
I've always thought, since the Snyderverse, little Snyder stuff kind of crashed and burned in the end. I know it wasn't his version of Justice League, but Justice League is one of those franchises where it's like you cannot lose, and then they lost. That is that's back in the day. That's a much bigger franchise than the Avengers because people know Batman, Wonder Woman, and Superman back in the day better than Iron Man, Thor, if you did the comics exactly, Ant-Man and the Wasp. So, the fact that it flopped it all
awesome
means that something bad happened.
Yeah.
And I think a part of it was it's like Solo in a way. It came too close to Batman v Superman, and enough people had a negative reaction to Batman v Superman.
I really think part of this, part of my issue with what Snyder was going to do is looking at those alleged storyboard and descriptions that came out about Justice League 2 and 3, which a lot of those story points had been discussed prior to those by people like Kevin Smith and things like that.
Yeah, didn't Kevin Smith do a podcast a few years ago where he's like, Snyder told me all of what happens in part 1, and here it is.
Yeah, and
here's the ending and everything because it's never going to happen.
And what I don't really get is something Jace and Manny kind of pointed out early this week, late last week, was Snyder was kind of selfish at the end of his movie, at the end of his Justice League movies. No, even the good timeline that's been fixed, you still have a lot of death and characters that you have without you using a multiverse. You've got a lot of characters that you just selfishly in 3 movies either finished or pigeonholed harshly. I kind of think that might be what really set Warner Brothers off. They were like, "You want to what?"
Well, I remember seeing somewhere that part of the problem, which, Zack Snyder had the family tragedy also. We all believe that actually happened. Yeah, that happened.
Yeah, that definitely happened.
Oh, yeah.
That's actually why he left. I don't think no one thinks.
Yeah.
We know he didn't actually pick Whedon.
No.
But he didn't quit because there was pressure.
No.
Top,
I wasn't.
right?
I'm saying the story. They didn't go with that story.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah.
Because part of I know Warner Brothers' problem from the very beginning, including the producers, was that it was already 3 weeks into production, I believe, by the time Batman v Superman came out, and that got such negative reviews within Rotten Tomatoes. And I liked it because Batman was in it, but I do think the non-ultimate cut is really bad for Batman v Superman.
Right.
The ultimate cut's much better, but I always blame Snyder for this too. Is you can't make a 3-hour movie and not be like a Nolan or a Peter Jackson and expect them not to chop it apart a little bit. That's also the reason I don't the 4-hour Snyder cut would have never been released, whether he was forced out or not, because no one releases a 4-hour movie. Theaters don't want it. The studio doesn't want it.
No, not anymore.
Anyway, the problem was that Warner Brothers wanted to stop and make adjustments. But when you're already 3 weeks into shooting a movie that was intended to immediately follow Batman v Superman, it's too late to change direction. And maybe they did that, trying to use Whedon to do that, backfired and resulting in something probably worse than what Snyder did.
Well, you got to remember
the sequel collapses and everything else.
Yeah,
you got to remember too. It was a month after Batman v Superman came out that Warner Brothers invited. It was around like 20 journalists from all the big networks and online. Basically, it was a behind-the-scenes look at Justice League, and it was kind of a like, hey, this is kind of our way of saying we hear you and we're making the adjustments. And that's where they showed the kind of the first introduction of the Flash, and all the journalists were all about. I remember like IGN was like, okay, they made it funny. It's not 100% serious and everything, and it seemed like that it was going in a direction like that. But anytime you have studios intermixing with directors and storyboard, it never works out. I mean, we learned that with Star Wars and the sequel trilogy. You learn that, with Warner Brothers and, the Snyderverse, however you want to call that. We learned that with, like Jurassic Park, or like, when you start getting, Jurassic Park is great, and hey, let's do this and the sequels never turn out to be better when you have studio heads that don't know what they're doing and think they know what they're doing. That's when you have a disaster. That's when abandoned ship.
But in this case, they would have been overprotective.
Yes, very over.
Assuming, people want the Snyder cut.
Yeah,
now they want the Spider-Verse. I mean, Snyderverse. Sorry.
The Snyderverse, Spider-Verse. Yeah, everybody wants all these things, all these verses.
And here's why, and I argued with Jammer before about this on Breaking Geek, and this is the exact kind of argument we had. Danny always tries to play the middle. Danny Bartlett, he's on our show, where he's like, he's almost devil's advocate, and Jammer is full on like Snyderverse. Where Danny's like Nick, what's your problem with them changing characters like Batman, where he like shoots a gun, or like he does this, or Superman's glum, when you've had several versions of them in movies already? And it's like, that's a fair point. And then he's like, so why wouldn't you give Zack Snyder a chance the same way you've given Marvel a chance to kind of like play with it a little bit? And I'm like, because of the fool me once, fool me twice, fool me 3 times rule, where why would I be excited for his version of Justice League when this version of Batman v Superman is like, I don't know. I feel like his biggest mistake and Ayer's biggest mistake is they don't get the characters. Like, I think it hurts more as a comic fan that these movies, like, I think if you're not a comic fan, you'd be like, okay, maybe they behave that way. But as a comic fan, I'm like, Superman wouldn't do that. That is not Harley Quinn until Birds of Prey.
Let's look at a few things here. I got we can see these tweets, right? Zach Penn on the screen. He says he had the pleasure of watching the Snyder Cut at IMAX, thanks to Zack Snyder. Different work, new movie, epic, lump in the throat, everything people wanted and more. No spoilers, but Warner Brothers will never recover from this. Vindication for fans that fought for it and took crap. Grace Randolph saying, Justice League 2 and 3 might now be possible. Some suits want Snyder to direct Wonder Woman 3, which I as in her think is an excellent idea. The hype is real. Don't let up now. I gotta say something about that last one about Wonder Woman, because it's it connects to Star Wars and a fear I have. I did a little digging into interviews and things with Patty Jenkins leading into or following Wonder Woman 84, because that was so shockingly like bad that I got scared for Rogue Squadron. And that's like That's my you guys don't
look.
Mike Stackpole follows me on Instagram. Okay, like X-Wing and all that's life. And I found out that indeed by her own admission, Wonder Woman 1 had a heavy Snyder and studio hand.
While I think hurt the third act. But
either way,
the rest of the movie was pretty good.
Then in '84, she, by her own admission again, she says she was essentially given free reign to include ignoring what was done in BVS and Justice League. Haven't said anything false yet. Yeah, right.
Doesn't ignore though when it's a different time. When it's like a prequel, like Captain Marvel.
What's that?
Those things haven't happened.
No,
yet.
she was told that basically the multiverse thing was going to happen and that she could ignore it. That's the way she was.
Yeah, because the way that the Snyderverse put it was that Wonder Woman appeared around World War I and then disappeared. Like we never saw from her ever again. And there was no like she lost faith in humanity and like she was kind of going away from it. And that Patty Jenkins was given the kind of free will to say you can go in whatever direction. Don't acknowledge or you don't have to like acknowledge that that whole part of like what Snyder had created of Wonder Woman kind of going dark and not being around. So that's why we get Wonder Woman 84. Yes. And so you kind of get
Breaking Geek knew that when we reviewed it. We're like, how does this work? She's obviously out in the open.
When that's why they kind of
Batman it's kind of weird. These walls that jumped up in Egypt,
And it's kind of weird because in Wonder Woman 84, they kind of semi-acknowledge it where like when
the crown at the beginning.
The crown at the beginning is like,
cameras.
Yeah, all this it like doesn't exactly. It does not work. And so, but yeah, Patty Jenkins was given kind of the green light saying, and it was after DC Fandom, had announced it too, that like, hey, look, we're not going to do the linear storyline like Marvel did. We're imploding what we created and branching out and, kind of doing its own thing. And they said, what's the head of Warner Brothers now? He said that, that Flash movie.
Just the head of DC or is the head of Warner Brothers?
Warner Brothers.
Okay.
Said that the, Flash movie with Flashpoint was going to explain all this and, and kind of show that there is no more connectivity and so forth. So even though that like Aquaman and Wonder Woman
connectivity,
I mean, who knows? Maybe with Snyder, who knows how the Snyderverse or the Justice League cut does? If the Justice League cut,
do you think it's possible for it to do well enough to make more? Like it's on a streaming service, and it'll get a Blu-ray. Okay, I think it could become a cult classic. With you can't really measure it how many people have joined because of it.
Right,
they could sell a shit ton of Blu-rays and a shit ton of IMAX tickets if they decide to do that in the future.
Yeah, exactly. If they get subscriptions and they get Blu-rays and they get IMAX, then sure. If you can make a profit, you're gonna do it. But that's the trick. With Snyder, it's not so like Snyder ranks I think in like the top 30 of all-time directors with the worldwide box office, right? But his movies cost a lot more to produce than
so not net gain.
So not net gain. So he does make bank when he produces. I think he's 10 movies now, and he's over $3 billion that he's grossed. Now the Russo brothers are like ranked like second and
4
third or whatever. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. I think they're like a 5.
Don't forget You, Me, and Dupree.
Yeah. That's a great movie. But so while Snyder brings in money in the box office, the profitability is not there because I mean I think which one was it that what was the zombie movie he did?
Dawn of the Dead.
Dawn of the Dead is his most profitable movie because it was it was a very low budget film. It was shot in one area. They did everything in one one set, but when you're talking about Batman, Man of Steel, Batman vs Superman, Sucker Punch was even a big budget. 300 was a semi big budget. Yeah, Sucker Punch definitely flopped. Yeah,
Watchmen I fucking loved.
Watchmen was a big budget one too. So it's
The director's cut though is much better than the theatrical cut.
Yes,
I've never seen the extreme cut.
The extreme 6-hour version.
Yeah, I haven't seen the one with the Black Freighter edited.
So if Warner Brothers and Snyder can sit down and say, look, here's what we can do. We can give you the green light for this, but we need net profits. We need, then I see it happening.
But looking at what 2 and 3 was, what the tweet here?
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean that's the key is legitimately they can.
No, and I'm okay with them. I don't know. Okay, here's the question, Mike: are you a bigger DC or Marvel fan? Comics. Comics.
Comic wise, so I grew up more of a DC fan, and I know more about DC.
Okay.
But when it comes to the films, I lean more towards Marvel now. And growing up a kid, Batman '89, and all those the Supermans, I love them. Yeah, exactly. So that I like my kid in me, DC. And like what CW did with Green Arrow, at least the first
Legends of Tomorrow with Constantine.
Yeah, like that to me, was amazing. I love that.
Okay.
So I want to see Snyder's version of Justice League. Sure. I want it to do well. I really do, because to me that's more Batman, that's more Superman, that's more Wonder Woman, things that we all, I think, as kids want to see, inside of us and stuff. So, it sucks that Marvel's figured out that, Kevin Feige's figured out that formula.
That's my question. I think it was James Burns, another contributor, who wrote this on Slack years ago. Mm-hmm. Maybe it was you. Someone on Slack wrote, I'm pissed. I love DC so much. I'm pissed off as a DC fan. We don't get what Marvel has. They wanted a connected universe that worked, whereas Snyder kind of fudged it up.
Yeah, I mean, what the CW did.
More connected.
True
the characters, in my opinion.
Yeah, the Arrowverse I thought was perfect. They had
separated, not being allowed to use the main characters, but they work really well around that.
Right. They had their own shows, they did their own thing, and then every so often crossover and then do their own thing.
Yeah.
And it was just Warner Brothers wanting to make a profit off of what Marvel was doing, and saying let's do the same exact thing. Let's rush a Justice League.
Yes. Where it's instead of individual movies for everyone, it's even Batman doesn't have an individual movie yet, even though the ultimate cut of Batman v Superman is mostly Batman.
Right.
They add in Clark Kent doing a lot of investigating, but it's still people say that Snyder always wanted to do a Batman movie to begin with, but Nolan had the rights. So
right.
I look at the DC these days, and I am on the comment you just mentioned side to a degree. I have friends like Brian, die-hard DC fan, just broken hearted over BVS, and both versions he couldn't stand either one. He does admit the longer one's better, but he still hates them. And he won't even watch Justice League theatrical. Never watched it once. Just was nope. And
had the instinct.
Yeah. And I was like, no, you should watch it before you watch the Snyder's Justice League, and he was like, nope, not doing it.
I don't think so, since they're both going nowhere.
No, I want him to suffer like I did. That's the point.
No, but here's one of the things I'm looking forward to least in the Justice League movie is rewatching the hour I've already watched. Oh. I know it's not in order, but every scene that I've already watched, because they questioned me on Breaking Geek this week for how would you remember them? It's I haven't seen the movie for 2 years, but I am an idiot. I did watch it 5 to 7 times.
Oh, gee.
I own it. I watched it in theaters at least twice.
TNT pretty often too.
I don't have cable. I have Blu-ray every once in a while. I'm like, let's watch a movie that has a partial Danny Elfman score.
There you go.
The only reason I saw it the second go around was because the first go around I got so wasted.
Rightfully so.
I was like, I remember this being really bad, so let me check. Oh, so that's why I was drinking so much.
And one person on Twitter agrees with me with one thing. The two things I wish they would kept that were by Whedon.
Yeah.
I love the opening if you reshoot it without the baby lip. I love someone taping him on an iPhone, and they're like, why are you here? And he just has that smile on his face. Like, that's a great Superman moment.
Yep.
But we won't see it because he won't use any of the footage.
Right.
And he doesn't have to use the footage, but if he reshot that, I'd be like, that's how you open Justice League.
So let's
but the other one is the rooftop opening with Batman.
Mm-hmm.
I like that scene a lot. That feels like how to open a Justice League movie with Batman, where he's hunting a normal Fincher actor, and then a fucking parademon shows up.
Yeah.
And he kills him.
Now, you know Jason Manny's opinions. Both of you guys do.
I've talked with both of them a lot.
Yeah, and everyone here can check out that earlier episode I was talking about with Jace and Manny with the comic source and
Jace don't
LRMornings.
accept any film, yo.
I know
fan.
that, but he actually had some positive things to say about Justice League 2 and 3.
Based on the outline he read?
Yeah. Actually, he did.
I thought he hated the idea of Bat Kid.
Well, he hates that with a passion, and I guess
That's
rightfully
like the worst
so.
thing any universe could do was yeah.
But there were other aspects that he did like about the nightmare world and fixing it with Flash and the cosmic treadmill and stuff. But
yeah, that's cool.
He pointed out something, Shockey, that I always point out, and that's that he is such a picker and chooser of what he likes from a character's prime Earth universe to their dark alternate what if story to their what all that, and he jumbles it all together and puts it into something that doesn't make sense, like having Superman fight his final Justice League fight in the black suit. Like, that was his recharge suit, man. He wasn't able to go toe to toe, right out the grave, putting that thing on. It was to help him through the process, and we learned all that after watching the Reign of the Superman run with the Cyborg, the
Cyborg,
Alien,
Superman,
Steel, and
Superboy.
Superboy. Yep. And so, how do you feel being a bigger DC Comics fan, seeing these characters used, like the fact that he wanted Batman to have a relationship with Lois Lane while Superman's dead, or while he's with Darkseid or whatever. I can't remember which way it was.
So it's conflicting, right? We all have our own image of, our favorite superheroes and what they should be. Okay. And so, like, I always make the comparison to Sam Raimi's version of Spider-Man with Tobey Maguire, right? Let's
you've
look
got
at that.
my attention now.
Okay. So the first Spider-Man, right? We totally ignore Peter's story with Gwen Stacy. Stacy, which was iconic in the early runs of these. I'm just going off the comic book version.
I just raise you one thing, is that
What's that?
I was in 8th grade when this movie came out, so I had no comic knowledge.
Right, yeah.
For me, that was Spider-Man, even though I knew it wasn't comic accurate.
Yeah.
So
I knew there were web shooters in the comics.
Right,
I knew it was Gwen Stacy.
Exactly.
First.
So like Sam Raimi's Spider-Man, everybody when he came out, and I still think it's a great movie and stuff. But when I saw it in theaters, I was in high school around that time, and I grew, there was the Spider-Man comic books, there was Spider-Man cartoon series and everything. We were gonna, the movie totally eliminates Gwen Stacy. And then it goes from, web shooters, that he makes to, organically,
or
after
Comics
the other.
Do that after?
Yeah, Ultimate Comics.
Ultimate Comics is more like
616
early MCU / Raimi universe.
Yeah, there was
616 did too.
Yeah, shortly after the movies, the comic books adopted it as well. And so then we get this kind of like There's
so
new
people are like,
Spider-Man.
he's not smart enough to build, or I'm not smart enough to understand the idea of someone building.
And that was the thing, was that
because Raimi's simplifying it for people, right? Like the first major, like
right, and we don't really, and the first Spider-Man 2 with Tobey Maguire, he's not that smart. He's book smart, like he graduates at the top of his class. But in the comic books, he was interning at Oscorp, in high school and stuff, and they wait for him to graduate. Like the everything that we saw in the first Spider-Man was post high school. Where in the early one of the comic books,
first ridiculous 20 minutes where they're all 30-year-olds.
Oh yeah, exactly. Yeah,
including
right.
Deathstroke.
And I understand. Yeah, and I understand these people, these actors are in their like 20s and 30s. You can't make them look like they're high school.
As a kid, I bought it. Now it's so silly.
Right.
It's
exactly.
like I look older than me.
Right. The facial haircut, and they need a shade to make it look like they're in the freshman in high school. But yeah, I mean, the early runs of Spider-Man's comics, and Stan Lee was saying this was a kid who was traumatized by watching his uncle, who was his father figure, get shot, and had to grow up without a father and throughout high school with these powers. And so that's why I liked Tom Holland's version, is because we're sticking into that high school realm, even though it's getting crazy now with the cinematic universe or whatever. But they didn't gloss over it. Now, in like the new version of Spider-Man, there's no Gwen Stacy. There's not the iconic Mary Jane from the comic books. Zendaya.
But it's still MJ.
It's MJ, right?
It's a spirit.
But the comic book version of MJ is a model / actress. Zendaya is
which is almost more than Peter Parker can attain.
Exactly.
I mean, she's after Gwen Stacy when he's older in the comics.
Right. Yeah. So we accept that. We accept all of that. Like, even to the point where, it's, oh my gosh, it's brilliant what they did. But with Snyder, when he's trying to do something different, then it's like, oh, how dare he change Batman's storyline? How dare he make Superman kill somebody, kill Zod, and so forth?
I was okay with that because I'm not big. I'm not a big spot. I didn't know a lot about Superman, and at the time, I'm like, this is the best Superman movie you could ever make,
I remember I remember watching. I was like, did he just kill Zod? I was like, that's the whole thing of the comic. Superman doesn't kill. Like, he
I
does
assumed
whatever
he killed
can.
just because of his powers.
No. Doomsday was the first being that he killed, but he sacrificed himself to protect the world.
Have you seen the Badman sketch with Patton Oswalt as the Penguin? Where
I've heard of it, but I haven't seen it.
It's a sketch about Batman killing and thinking he's putting people to sleep because he has the claws, he has the sharp ass batarangs, and
that's I gotta check that.
So
one
I assume with Superman's power set, laser eyes and stuff, that he intentionally killed. I didn't know that until as a Batman reader for life, but new to Superman, I didn't realize watching Man of Steel that he didn't kill at all.
That was very taboo for the traditional Superman.
That's the thing though, and it's something I've brought up with other properties even, and that is certain IP, certain franchises, maybe even you could break it down sometimes in comic book universes to where certain characters do not lend themselves to contemporaryization. They don't translate to contemporary motivations. They don't translate to contemporary ideologies. They don't translate well to what people might want to do with them.
Right.
And that's because of how they were originally designed and created. When you go back to DC, they were originally designed and created as demigods, basically.
Exactly.
Pure 100%.
Marvel and DC are opposite.
Right, correct.
Supposed to be these idols and things to look up to, who during times of
gods
strife,
who want to be human,
and strife of the Dust Bowl and depression and world wars and all that. And then you look at Marvel, which Stan you know, by his own words, was basically like, I wanted to make my story based on real life, what's
relatable
going on. And
it
so
to balance superheroism and fucking school and a girlfriend.
That's
correct.
That's why you have to get those really far out. What if they can't be connected to the prime DC unless it's a crossover type thing, because those big broad differences don't really work as well as a long-term continuous story. While Marvel, on the other hand, is more able to play with the times and keep relevant and stick with it because of how they were created. It's just like the differences in Star Trek and Star Wars, and the difference between a place you go for escapism and a place you go for relatability and what's the word I'm looking for? I guess for lack of a better phrase, like comfort or something. Do you know what I'm trying to get at?
Catharsis.
Maybe I got
my favorite terms.
I got
overcomplicated
a feeling in like a word, but I can't get it out. But it's different than escapism. When you're watching something to escape, you don't want to think about anything that you can touch or hear in the real world. You don't want it touching what you escape to, you know?
Yeah, no, I agree with you. It's like people watching sports. Mm-hmm. They want to watch sports to escape from the reality. And so when you see it a lot more in today's realm, when athletes start talking about politics or real world aspects, you see fans like, I just want to watch sports. I just want to, do it that way. Same concept applies to, movies and these properties, and they want to escape. They don't want to deal with, those things. And so when they watch Superman, they want to see, the Christopher Reeves, the truth, justice, and the American way, and nothing controversial and nothing and stuff. And
the new shows like that, right?
What's that?
The new show is like that.
Yeah.
Superman
Oh yeah.
Lois.
It's
like, I mean, in the first scene, isn't he wearing the old school shit?
Old school. He's been around forever. This is the first time that we've seen a Superman age, right?
Yeah.
That he's been
he's
been around for a while. Not like, Superman grew up in the came in the 50s, grew up in the 60s, 70s, and then 80s he's Superman. It's like, no, Superman's been around for some time, in Metropolis, cool. Which is cool. A cool concept. I really like that. But if you think of every form of Superman we've had in mainstream media, going back to George Reeves, in television, it's it's the iconic Superman we get in the comic books. Henry Cavill's version of Superman is vastly different. And what a lot of people put
you can
Snyder
look to the Earth One imprint,
right?
Which is pretty interesting. And they say part of the Batman is based off that version of Batman as well.
Yes, yeah. And with a lot of people put that on Snyder, but really this form of Henry Cavill Superman was created by David Goyer and Christopher Nolan, because remember Nolan came from the Batman
and I think that's part of the problem, honestly.
Man of Steel. And so of course Nolan humanized Batman. He made that version of Batman, the symbol that any man could be Batman.
Right.
So everybody loved that. So then he brings that kind of same concept over, that Superman is not just this perfect person that he's learning his way, and he'll eventually become Superman, but he's going to destroy a lot of things, at first, and he's got to, he's got to find his way.
A few problems with it, killing his dad. That's a very
different
Superman.
That was
if it's different, if it's like a Star
written.
Trek sequel prequel where it's like Kirk's dad died, but it's like in main continuity he let his dad die. That's part of him.
And there's a great interview that David Goyer did with Chris Hardwick when Chris Hardwick was still doing the Nerdist podcast right after Man of Steel, and I
love that stuff.
And it was really about the backlash of Man of Steel, and Goyer basically said, "Look, it's not for everyone. It's we did something because we wanted to do something different. We had done everything. If you want that version of Superman, go watch the Christopher Reeve's version. Go watch Brandon Routh's version of it.
No,
and so,
well, that's one where Kevin Smith says he doesn't throw a punch.
But that's the funny thing though, good guys, and correct me if I'm wrong, but when Superman Returns came out, everyone complained about how boring and cerebral and blah blah blah.
And it was the pure version of Superman.
And when Man of Steel comes out, they're like, no, where was our Christopher? Where was our Donner's Superman over there with Brandon Routh, guys? I hate to tell you, but that was your Donner.
Yeah,
Superman
that was your chance.
Right
that was your chance.
Guys, spit on. DC doesn't know what the fuck they want.
I never wanted a continuation of that version of Superman. In fact, I love Henry Cavill. I hope continues. Mm-hmm. There are some superhero roles that have been perfectly cast. There are some that still haven't been. I don't think Superman's been perfectly cast yet.
I don't think you could. I honestly think.
Well, I mean, I still think go back 15 years and get John Hamm, and you're like, fuck yeah.
I think that there's never going to be the perfect Superman. I think Christopher Reeves was.
But there are for a lot of other characters.
Yes, without a doubt. But I don't think you're ever like Superman is just that iconic
because he's not human. And,
yeah, but like there are other superheroes that. Tony Stark. You'll never get a better Tony Stark. He's 100% human. Like they shot their wad in a good way.
I'll disagree. I'll disagree. I will 100% agree that the best man alive is absolutely Robert Downey Jr. But if you rewound time, go back 14 years now, and you could definitely find another actor with
who they were trying to cast that long ago? Tom Cruise was not a good fit. He was offered the role. So was
who might have the similar
Leonardo DiCaprio. They're not as good a fit. They're better actors at the time, technically, but
that's what I'm getting at. Is it wasn't Downey? He's acting chops alone. It was Downey's life experience.
He is Iron Man.
Yeah, but at the same
especially
time,
after.
I think you got to realize too how many people really knew the backstory of Tony Stark from the comic books and that he was an alcoholic and all. And so you get a mass audience that I kind of know Iron Man type deal, but with Superman, that story has everyone knows Superman. So everybody's like, you got to do it this way. For Favreau, he kind of had some flexibility with Iron Man because the diehard Marvel fans knew Stark, like the alcoholic, genius, playboy, or whatever, but
philanthropist
and stuff like that. But because it was Disney and it was Marvel, you couldn't make this version of Tony Stark an alcoholic. You had to figure out some
sucks.
Right.
They did enough of it that I'm like,
but there wasn't enough people to remember that and be like, oh. Wow,
why did in a bottle, man?
Yeah, walk around in some, some Jim Beam or something, But I think that's where it's so much harder for DC because we know Superman. Majority of people know Superman. Majority of people know Batman, and so like bringing Ben Affleck's version of Batman, which I thought was great. I think Ben Affleck,
my favorite version, but not my favorite Batman film. I love Affleck.
Yes. I agree
He's
with
the
that
Dark
point.
Knight Returns.
I definitely agree with that point. That's a great point, but
people call him Fat Man, but I disagree.
But it's like, how dare he kill people and stuff? And it was like, but there's so many different versions, of Batman out there. Why do we have to say no? You got to do it this way. I mean, the most iconic Batman story of all time is Frank Miller's The Dark Knight Returns, and there you see, Batman go off on a killing spree and kill the Joker and so forth. I mean. I just think that for whatever reason, whether it's social media or whatever, like Snyder's vision gets shitted on for wrong reasons. I'm not saying Snyder's perfect. There are some like the whole Bat-Kid situation and stuff like that. No, I would not take that big of a risk or a gamble and stuff. And like I've said before, where Snyder's probably best comic book movie he ever did was 300, and that was frame for frame.
Watchmen.
Oh, well, Watchmen's great. No. I'm not saying Watchmen's bad, but 300.
I would say Watchmen's the best, just like you think 300's the best.
Oh, okay. Okay. I mean, yeah, you could put either one in there, but there's
they're both good. I don't like 300, but I've also never read the comic, so I was judging it as a film, not a hyper like weird film.
Yeah, like if you read the comic and you watch the movie, it's like wow, like iconic scene, frame. It's like wow, it's pretty spot on.
Well, that's part of my problem with Snyder is he takes from a lot of stories. I wish he'd just do a story.
True.
He's wasted most of the elements from Batman, The Dark Knight Returns without making The Dark Knight Returns.
Because he wants to be a Frank Miller. He wants to be like, oh, that guy created, the different version of Batman. And so
with that, let's talk about the second part of all of this, which is the fact that this is all because of social media.
Right.
Like legitimately, Jace brought up a really good point. I wanted to know where his line was because he like Jammer has said in the past, thinks that giving fans like this can be dangerous, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I'd asked him about Sonic because I wanted to know. I thought Sonic was a fair thing because
I would say
it happened, as he pointed out, and I agreed 100%. But before I asked, and that's finding where lines are at. So Sonic changes happened before the movie came out, before the movie was released. They pushed the movie back, and they were changing not the story; they were changing the look of one character,
aesthetic.
An aesthetic, and I can get that. Like I could see where say the Spider-Man suit, like the textured garbage that they were gonna have in Civil War. I'm so glad it's a digital suit.
I love the old textured garbage, but the best thing ever is the moving eyes.
But yeah,
so cool.
I liked the digital suit because it offers you the opportunity if there had been some sort of massive backlash, just for example, and they had changed it to something better. That I can see before the movie comes. But what do you think, Shockey, being kind of in this business for a while yourself? Mm-hmm. Is this dangerous now? Giving fans this much?
Yeah, like so my view on social media, it's becoming very dangerous. Like it's not just an outlet anymore for people to like just express their opinion. It's becoming like the kind of calling card for a lot of businesses and how they interact or put things out into mainstream. A lot of businesses now will test products just through social media and see the reaction there. You see little promotional images and so forth. I mean, think about it. Deadpool was not even a project until social media, until it got leaked
on purpose,
and shared on purpose
by Ryan Reynolds,
just like Ant-Man footage too. That Ant-Man footage,
Ant-Man got completely redone because of this. So it's dangerous. It's very dangerous that what it shows me is a lack of leadership and a lack of vision in a studio when you're
vision,
yeah, exactly. But
you lack vision.
Yeah, but to me, it's like when you're making your decisions based off of the crowd, and the mob. That's tough. Like because or how much money are you going to waste? Think about how much money Sonic, that production had to put back into the film to reanimate.
They're making a sequel.
Making a sequel, so it's profitable.
I think it would have made less money if we got that ugly ass Sonic. Parents wouldn't want to take kids.
You're correct.
Kids would be like, "What the shit is going on?"
It's scary.
Yes and no.
Yes, human teeth.
Yes and no. I think that was just a bad decision overall. In the very beginnings of concept art and stuff. And if you're going to do that, then don't wait till the trailer, gets released to just test it out in a, controlled audience and say like, what do you think of this design and stuff? And of course people are going to say that's a horrible Sonic the Hedgehog.
Well, unless you pick the wrong people for your focus group. I think they would pick a more general audience because they want it to be 4-quadrant.
Yeah.
And then there would be enough gamers in the group to be like, that looks retarded. I'm sorry to use the word, but that looks terrible.
There's plenty of PR people in these studios that I would hope know how to create a focus group and stuff.
And not just that, but I just can't imagine someone. I can't fathom Sega being okay with that image.
Well, this is why Nintendo doesn't release its property rights. Nintendo is very, very controlling of their property rights, and so I think they learned their lesson with Super Mario,
which is a classic now. Their names are Mario, and Luigi Mario.
Yeah, but that's why we don't have a Zelda movie. Which
I'm thankful for. I remember when that was rumored as a TV show. I'm like,
well, Nick,
I'm in the. People have disproved. Nintendo themselves disproved it this week, where they showed a graphic where you can apparently choose to talk in Skyward Sword, which is a game I kind of skipped. But he only were as a guy even and I was in college. I was going to take an adaptation class to Ocarina of Time. I didn't do it because Link can't talk, and the minute Link can't talk, you don't have a good protagonist.
True.
And it'll be like Raya and the Last Dragon if you guys have seen it. It's a quest movie where it's like gather this, gather this, gather this.
Yeah. But Nick, what do you think? Is this dangerous precedent?
Yes.
Are you upset that the Snyderverse is being restored as we speak?
I think I'm not pissed it's happening because I know a lot of people will enjoy it.
Mm-hmm.
I do find it to be, and this might be controversial, an incredibly toxic fan base. The Snyder fans, not DC fans, where I've seen comments like, and it kind of blows my mind. There's conspiracy that Warner Brothers intentionally leaked the movie during the Tom Jerry thing, where it's like, that sounds like a crazy person talking. Or do you think it actually was Warner Brothers sabotaging? Because everyone's like, they're sabotaging Zack Snyder because they
How is that they got
Ray Fisher said that. He's like, they did that the day before
quick.
The Cyborg trailer. They're trying to cut me in half again.
No.
And it's like, no, that's a fucking mistake because companies, especially like Warner Brothers and Sony, make a lot of mistakes.
Yeah.
And there's I've seen other conspiracy theories where it's like, okay, back when Endgame came out, they were just tweeting, don't spoil Endgame for each other. A lot of Zack Snyder fan accounts I've seen are like, don't let those Marvel people watch it before you and spoil it before you because they hate you.
Jesus.
And it's like, what the fuck? It's like, just calm down. I like both. I don't think Snyder Cut's going to be good. I'll probably watch it twice in the first 2 weeks in order to podcast about it and stuff. But
So
Nick is like, I don't know, but these scissors really hurt me when they stab. But I'm going to do it a couple more times.
I said earlier, I've seen the first Justice League 6 to 7 times, and it's not a good movie.
Why?
I've seen Suicide Squad 5 to 6 times.
Here's a. I get kind of conflicted because it goes back to a little bit what I said earlier. With creatives, with directors, writers, even the actors that get their interpretation of a story. For creatives, there are again certain properties that you can give a creative more freedom, and other properties where really no matter how much that creative wants it for the betterment of that property, you can't or shouldn't give them freedom unless you're setting up things like multiverses or a Joker film where it's completely disconnected, something like that. And but at the same time, I look at people like George Lucas who created something and then changed what they created, and how I felt about that. And that's where I almost come over to the Snyder fans side of things to where I'm like, Star Wars, but Star Wars is bigger than Snyderverse will ever dream of being. It's a near religious event for people, right? So it might not be the best comparison, but I looked at Lucas and I'm like, you don't understand. I got that this is your creation and your story, and this is where you wanted to go, but it took a life of its own, and you let it go for so long that when you let other people start creating for it from Shadows of the Empire, especially forward, you kind of don't have the right to change it. I don't know. I feel so. Do you see why I'm conflicted?
Right. Well, bringing it back to Star Wars and to your original question, I think the best example of listening to fans and ruining a movie is Rise of Skywalker.
Yeah.
Yes.
Well,
let's listen to everyone after their complaints about Last Jedi.
Yes, Rise of Skywalker. Exactly. Yep. That was a checklist.
She's not a nobody. Okay. She's correct. A Palpatine.
We changed that. You're absolutely right. The Rise of Skywalker was the epitome of listening to social media.
Was
but this might be the new epitome.
But true. Okay. That was true. We might see on that.
And I am in. Everyone knows. Check the Cantina, especially tomorrow. It might be up a little bit late, but Cam and I have some counterpoints to Shockey's great article about Kathleen Kennedy staying on. The comments are definitely hot in there.
I love the article.
Oh, I'm not. I definitely have had plenty of great conversations where I even said months ago, she's staying.
Yeah.
And I was like, she's. I think maybe even a year ago, I was like, I think she's gonna stay.
Yeah.
And then a few months ago, I'm like, guys, get over it. She's staying in some way. Like,
yeah.
Look, we even discussed that on Breaking Geek later today as well.
Yeah.
So it's hard to avoid that topic.
But yeah. If you, it's an interesting case with that movie, because we can look at it in one of two ways. We can look at it as they changed everything from The Last Jedi to listen to fans to go to Rise of Skywalker, or you can look at it as a little bit of that, but also still Abrams potentially having brought forward some of his own ideas when he was writing 7.
Could we have
either way? It's bad.
But could we have the reverse with Justice League, where Whedon's version is the Rise of Skywalker of Zack Snyder's Justice League? Like, because think about it, they brought Whedon in to now fix all this shit, fix it all, and he's like, okay, check this,
what we want.
Give us. And so could Zack Snyder's Justice League be the Last Jedi, where it's going to be polarizing? People are going to be like, you're going to have people that love it, people that hate it. And then Whedon's version of Justice League was the Rise of Skywalker. Okay, we saw all these problems ahead of time, and we're knocking these out. And it's
still want to use the fool me.
I'll
give any director a chance. I love Birds of Prey. It's my favorite DC. Right. Whatever their current run is. And I don't count Joker as part of it, because that's kind of a league of its own.
Right.
If that makes sense. Like, it's not a DC comic movie. It's elevation. But I think it depends on the director completely with DC. It's just that, like I said earlier, it's the Snyder, like, you fooled me once, shame on me.
Yeah.
Fooled me 3 times. Because, I watched the trailers. They look great. I know he's a visual genius. In fact, I've always believed he should be the special effects guy, not the story and directing guy. His movies look spectacular. The Justice League trailers, each one looks better than the last. Each time they show Darkseid, I'm like, that looks even better than Thanos. Like, give me it. But I know I've listened to his dialogue, his directing and stuff, and I'm not convinced he's a good director or a good co-writer. No. Some of his characters come off as wooden. And like we said before, he's made some really weird decisions, like Bat Kid. that are just like so off the map. That's like,
but Snyder doesn't have many writing credits to him. Like that's the funny thing.
No, but like when you're the director, you're writing on set most of the time.
Yeah.
You're like, why don't you try out this? It's not like Chris Terrio's there every day. Usually the writer's told to stay away, and the director helps.
Well, so like for Man of Steel, David Goyer was on set basically every single day.
I'm confident him as a story writer, but not a screenwriter. To be fair with Goyer. The stories that he wrote with Nolan are great. Screenplays he's written.
Oh yeah, and so I think that and so like and Goyer and Chris Terrio were the writers for Batman v Superman, and Snyder was the director, and Goyer was on set for that one. I think Goyer should share a lot of the blame on Batman v Superman.
I am happy to give Goyer the blame anytime.
Yeah.
I didn't mean to exclude. I didn't know his involvement, and he's absolutely to blame.
Yeah, and I agree with you that like he's a good story writer, but not script writer, and that's where I think that we see a fault to it. But we'll see what this version of Justice League, the Zack Snyder's version of, because Zack got the credit for writing the story of this. Chris Terrio did the screenplay. So
yeah,
I'll say that about the fan interactions and outreach, and a big difference between Warner Brothers and the House of Mouse. Warner Brothers has tried to quash bad reviews by longer embargoes and freaky deaky releases and things like that. And while Disney, on the other hand, they control and sterilize. It's
like 2 weeks early
everything
for a Marvel movie,
though. But there's been a lot of backlash against Lucasfilm for a few months, and it's not just political stuff with like Carano, but it's even backlash against stories and characters in the High Republic. So bad that
like the Stone, that's what you're talking about.
Stone character and Barry Yaga Barry, a fucking Wookiee with a last name that's the backwards of his first name, let alone having a last name. Anyway,
make this about Star Wars.
What I'm trying to get at is Disney, Lucasfilm has had to turn off comments and votes and counts and things like that on a crap ton of Star Wars content, and I wonder if the voices are as numerous as they appear. Disney is not bending, obviously, but if we see Star Wars take a big financial hit, would they bend to the fans? I don't think Disney ever does, no matter what.
Yeah. Well, here, I'll give you an example where they have in the Marvel Cinematic Universe was Iron Man 3. What was the villain?
And they brought back the Mandarin in the short.
Yeah, Mandarin. There you go.
And now he's in Shang-Chi or whatever. Yeah.
Shang-Chi.
Which I love. Oh my God.
Yeah,
that is my favorite digital short because just fucking Sam Rockwell's just hanging out with like his bitch.
And then Iron Man 3 was 2013. So I mean, it's kind of
it's it's the first movie after the Avengers.
Yeah, and the backlash from that of how they treated the Mandarin. Like the character that is now.
But I love Trevor Slattery.
But they kind of wrote it where they could say that Killinger what is his name? The extremist guy, Guy Pearce.
Guy Pearce.
I just said it and I've already forgotten.
You could write it to where he basically helped Trevor create. Killian.
Aldrich Killian. Yeah.
There you go. Create.
Wow, what a bad guy name.
Right.
Killian.
That he was inspired by the stories of the Mandarin, and that he helped create the Trevor Mandarin based on the real Mandarin. I think that's what they're going to say, which is a good cheat But yes, you're right. You're right.
They left it open,
and
they had to figure. It took a while to figure that out. They had to come up with that YouTube short.
Yeah,
and be like, oh, there was not really
no,
the
no, it's not a YouTube short.
Or
that was
one shot.
The one shots on each Blu-ray.
Right. That's right. Okay,
I missed them.
I do too.
And all of a sudden, it was like, oh yeah, we screwed up there with them.
So
let's do it the right way.
Star Wars.
That's why earlier I know we're supposed to be in Star Wars or whatever, or DC. I was defending WandaVision, and it's like, Hayward's a silly one-note character, but he's going to be back.
Another
he's
version
be in Armor Wars or something.
Yeah, me and you agreed with that.
Another time that like Disney has altered a character was Thor. When you had Thor Dark World bomb, in the early,
get Taika Waititi to fix
you go and say, let's play to Chris Hemsworth's strengths, which is comedy. Get Taika Waititi, which is great at balancing the action and comedy together.
We didn't prove that with Avengers and Age of Ultron.
But Age of Ultron, he has like
Thor
15
movies.
minutes of screen time, literally.
Right.
So, but still, the time he had, Whedon did a decent job with.
My favorite joke from the scene you're referencing is where he's talking to the Hulk or Mark Ruffalo. He's like, the galley should ring with the cries of the dead.
Yep.
It's like, it's not what I want to hear.
So I wonder what is in store for Star Wars, because that is a powder keg, and anybody that doesn't think, everyone can clearly see it's a powder keg out here. So you have to imagine that these days, more than in the past, we have more fans that have gotten into the industry than you used to have. You used to have those long-term professional career studio people, and now you've gotten it where enough fandom exists that fans are now in there. So you have to think that there's maybe not as big of a powder keg, but there's got to at least be some even tension on the inside.
Star Wars is going to be the most difficult to do, because it's like you said,
it's each generation with Star Wars.
It's
today.
It's a generational thing. You have your older generation that
people in the early 20s love the prequels.
Right. Oh, my high school students that I have,
they love the
prequels. Right. The kids that are 4, 5, and 6 years old
right now, love
they're loving the sequels. They're running around. Little girls are running around as Rey. Little girls running around as Rey. Little boys running around as Kylo Ren. BB-8. Kids having the little BB-8. So we're in about 10, 15 years from now.
Porgs instead of Ewoks.
Right. And you're gonna have all this, and also too, you have people who love the Clone Wars animated series, love it, and die with that. It's
coming alive in the Mandalorian.
Yeah. Now you have this new
continuations
where everyone has their I am not envious of Kathleen Kennedy. Kevin Feige was lucky, because you had your comic book nerds that read comic books, but majority of people that are fans of the MCU aren't diehard comic book fans that that will go along.
Well, it's not even luck. It's just that there is no pre-existing franchise in that medium. Where Star Wars has 40 years of anniversary. There's Spider-Man stuff, but from Iron Man,
the X-Men series, you had Spider-Man, but they said, we're not going to touch any of that. They couldn't, because it wasn't
we don't own
their property. But so they said, we're going to do our own thing. But so there wasn't anything previous of Iron Man. There wasn't anything previous of Captain America, except from some old 70s TV shows and some old campy cartoon shows, and so they rode with it. And so now everybody from kids to adults to the older generation jumped on at the same time with Marvel and go with there. Warner Brothers has a more difficult problem, because there were the Batman films, there were the Superman films, there was the Wonder Woman TV show that Linda Carter did that people loved, and so there's these comparisons, and that's difficult to
pigeonholes people. Like I said,
and so
creatives.
And so now you got people online like, this is not my Superman, this is not my Batman, that's not my Luke Skywalker, that's not my.
And I think that with Marvel, I've seen that audience exist with Spider-Man. I think it's the most splintered Twitter group. I hate Sam Raimi. I hate Andrew Garfield. I hate the current shit. Like there's 3 camps who are like, fuck
all
the other Spider-Mans.
All of it, you know. I swear, like growing up in the 90s, we didn't have any of this. Like, it's so great to finally.
I watched those animated series back in the 90s. My Batman's, my Superman, I mean, my Spider-Man's, my X-Men's.
I got beat up for that, watching that stuff. You're like, you're in high school. Why are you watching this? You're not a little kid and stuff. I'm like, damn.
Well, I was in high school when that shit came out, so I must be a little younger.
The only counterpart I bring up to the generational aspect of Star Wars being its salvation, what helps it carry on, is that younger generation relies on the income and the willingness to spend that income of the prior generation.
Like so you have to take your kids to Star Wars, even if
they don't know. If they don't know about it, do you really have to?
But I think that's what the Mandalorian's tapping into, right? So the Mandalorian's going back to the original trilogy, right? So now adults are sitting there, and we're saying, we're sitting down with, like, you know, our younger brothers or like, you know, parents are sitting down with their kids and be like, that's the Star Wars I grew up with, and they're loving. They're like, "Oh, I love Mando. I love Baby Yoda."
Timothy Olyphant's the best thing ever. Stuff like that.
And then they're looking. And I hope Rogue Squadron does that. I hope Patty Jenkins takes some of the what we grew up with Rogue Squadron.
Jenkins,
I get it, but I hope she. And I hope like the Acolyte does that. Like I hope we get to see some of the
success.
Like that connectivity to say, look, this is what I grew up with, and it's an updated version of it. And it's like, because I agree with you, Kyle, when the prequels came out, there, as much as, you know, I appreciate him now, but when I was in, you know, watching him in theaters, there was not that connectivity besides the names, like Anakin Skywalker, you know, and Obi-Wan Kenobi, but there wasn't that, like, that's the Obi-Wan I remember, or like there's that, you know, that stuff. It's like, okay, there's Yoda, but yeah, like when I saw Yoda when I was a kid, he was a puppet that could barely walk around, and now he's doing cartwheels and backflips and stuff. That doesn't, you know, there's no connection there.
And you're supposed to buy Obi-Wan and Anakin being best friends, although they share so little screen time together in 2 and 3, really.
And you have to rely on the animated series of the Clone Wars to connect all that. And so, where everyone jumped on board with the MCU at the same time, that's where you have to, if you're going to do Warner, if you're going to do DC, or you're going to do Star Wars, you have to connect it. You have to have some sort of connectivity. I think that's why Man of Steel was so polarizing, because the older generation
Batman going on at the same time.
Yeah. So like, the older generation relying on Christopher Reeves in that version of Superman, and then the group of kids are like, no, Henry Cavill's it and stuff. And then there's the like group like me, like, well, I had Brandon Routh for one film, you know. It's kind of like James Bond, you know. You have your Sean Connery, you know,
I'll take the Daniel
Roger Moore.
Yeah. Which is your favorite Bond, you know? But there's that connectivity.
Not my favorite. I hate Bonds, so I just said Dalton as you said that.
Timothy Dalton.
I was not answering Dalton
Bond,
as
George Lazenby.
What the fuck's his problem?
But I think the reason why so many people enjoy Bond is because, like the James Bond films, is there's that connectivity.
Yeah.
They use the same type of watches, cars, and you know, it's same villainous type of, so.
I can see that. Let's close with this. We've gone with the Snyder Justice League. Fans got that the potential dangers up to where we're at with Star Wars, and I want to ask Mike, since you think there needs to kind of be a Mando seems like it's a good jumping on point, but there still needs to be some stuff done on this end and this end to really make it a good point to jump on. Do you foresee the usage of what is it called? Where Ezra pulled what's her name out, the world between time or whatever.
World between worlds.
Do you foresee that being used to modify current canon in Star Wars?
No, I think basically we're not.
I'm not saying erase anything. Just modify.
We're gonna see. I believe we're gonna see the World Between Worlds in the Ahsoka series, and kind of you're gonna see some things played out there that kind of will connect the prequels, the original trilogy, the cartoon series, all kind of together. And I think what this culminating event between Mando, Ahsoka, Rangers of the New Republic, and even the Book of Boba Fett, we're going to see the connectivity to the sequel trilogy with the beginning of the First Order,
right?
And that. So this time era right now that we're in is trying to fix the gap between sequel trilogy.
Yeah, where they told us those wonderful books would have information and
it didn't that didn't do it. Yeah, definitely didn't do it. So what the World Between Worlds will do, I mean, I think it will give it kind of this the Ahsoka series. Ahsoka's searching for Ezra, first looking for Thrawn, then searching for Ezra. We're going to see kind of the beginnings of the First Order, like the kind of transition from the Empire to the First Order, because we kind of get it in Battlefront, in the Battlefront games. If you played that, you kind of see it. Yep. The storyline there, you kind of,
which they reference in Mandalorian.
Yep.
The Bill Burr episode, the whole whatever the operation was where they just burned everyone.
Yeah, and so
Ember, I think.
Yeah, so I think
Cinder.
Cinder.
It Cinder?
Yeah. Mm-hmm. So I think we're gonna get that. Or fixing. Filoni does a great job of not having to like retcon things. He can weave in and out of saying, okay, here's what we're going to do to answer this question, and he might take a long time to answer that question, but he'll figure it out and say, okay, here's how we're going to connect the dots and stuff, instead of doing what Rise of Skywalker did with the Holdo, light speed, going at light speed and destroying.
That was Last Jedi. Please don't insult Last Jedi.
No, but but Rise of Skywalker didn't. Who said it was a 1 in a million shot with Holdo?
Oh yeah, that was Rise of Skywalker.
They kind of retconned.
Let's try it again. No, we can't.
No, you kind of have to get rid of that maneuver. You really do.
Well, Ryan Johnson did not realize what he opened up.
Johnson's the worst.
It's like Star Trek Into Darkness, where it's like we could cure death. No, we couldn't. No, we couldn't.
The person that's actually responsible for that is not Ryan Johnson, but Pablo Hidalgo, who was supposed to be like the Dave Filoni of Lucasfilm. And when they questioned, Hidalgo's like, oh yeah, that's why it takes so long to figure out light speed, is that they have to calculate to make sure that they're going in the right direction, don't run into other planets. Into planets or asteroid fields and stuff like that. Right. But Hidalgo's like, oh yeah, you can do that. That's that's legitimate, a problem there. And
it's right in front of you.
But Ryan Johnson went with it. He was like, and it was like,
and where's if we're gonna do that, then get me some damn on-screen interdictor cruisers, okay? I want that shit, because I'll tell you what, I loved playing Star Wars real-time strategy games, just sitting there waiting on some motherfucker to come through my trap. So with that, guys, thank you so much for joining us on this Friday morning. Let us know what you guys think in the comments below. Is it dangerous for fans to be able to make this type of demand hand to a studio and see their demands met? Will other franchises benefit or hurt from this? Let us know what you think. Check out LRMonline.com every single day for all your entertainment news, needs, and opinions. The YouTube channel for great celebrity interviews. We're putting up more than anyone else out there, guys. And of course, all of our podcasts are going up there now. Obviously, LR Mornings is transitioning to Who Video. I've got some new toys I hope to get up and running for you guys by Monday. Hey, and lots of great podcasts, anime, Marvel, whole you name it, we cover it. Star Wars, all of those got dedicated shows. Nick, talk about yourself for a second.
Only a second. I'm at Geeky Nick Doll on Twitter. I do this show with Kyle quite a bit. More often, I do Breaking Geek Radio, the podcast, every Friday with the boys. Our 2-year anniversary is this week, or today rather. And I do Marvel Multiverse Mondays with Kyle, where we will continue to speculate no matter how much you guys complain about Mephisto. Fuck you.
Shockey, talk about yourself and our glorious overlords.
yeah, right. Oh, you guys, can always message me, at LRM_exclusive on Twitter. Find me, in the comment section. I'm going to be the one that tells you that Kathleen Kennedy being in charge of Star Wars right now is a good thing. I'm going to tell you that the Snyderverse coming back is a good thing, because guess what? If you lived in the late 80s, early 90s with none of this shit, you better be happy that we have all this stuff now. So, I mean, just live with it. There's going to be some good. There's going to be some bad. Doesn't mean everything has to be great. So just live with it and be happy that we have this stuff.
I'm clapping again.
All right. Thank you guys so much for being a part of the show today. Thank you all for listening. We look forward to talking to you guys on Monday. Until then, have a good weekend.